Larry, Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions. You're tuned into the Conscious Conversation Show with Carolyn and Larry. Today it's a little bit different because we're doing this on a Saturday. Typically we do it on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 o'clock Central, where Carolyn's located. And speaking of where Carolyn's located, deep in the heart of Texas, where the stars at night are big and bright. Man, I think I'm so witty every time I hear that. Carolyn Leonard Roberts, how are you doing? And I thought what we'd also do too is, the last couple of shows, it's really worked out great where you've said some words of encouragement, a little prayer, little, a talk to get everybody into the mode. And I can't wait to hear what you have to offer this time. And I really appreciate you being here. And thank you for taking the time to do this on a Saturday. I know your weekends are precious. And yeah, this is a special Saturday edition. And I'm glad to have you aboard. And as well as everybody out there in the listening world on internet land, and around internet land. Thank you for being here. Carolyn, take it away.
Yes. Hi, Larry, and thank you for anybody listening to this podcast now or any now. Yes, we're going to do some positive words, prayer, whatever you want to call it. It's an intense time right now for everybody. And so the prayer to me, or the positive words, pulling in the positive and aligning in that space, and not even just super positive, just gratitude and ready to expand and listen to this in this space for whatever calls you, is the intent of this, to align you, to assist in aligning you. So I'm going to call in what my guides call the litany. So just begin to take some deep breaths. Mother, Father, God, our higher selves, our I am, our guides, our ancestors, our star brothers and sisters, our star family, angels, archangels, and their divine counterparts, masters, ascended masters, and other Christed beings. The Elohim, Mother Gaia, Dragon Collective, all other non-physicals of Christed intent, of Christed reach, of Christed expansion are also invited in this space to help me bring through the words and the energy and the highest intent for those listening in this now or any now on this conversation that is a brief touching on love and compassion and all other extensions of the energy that is love. As I receive it, as Larry receives it for this now, which only expands from here as we allow our hearts to lead, balanced by the wisdom that we have received up until this point of now, that only expands from here as we choose and as we allow to offer a fuller experience to all that is, to inform all that is, and the divine in all spaces, to expand or offer expansion to all hearts called, so that they may align and walk and be in the truth of grace, divine beauty that they are, and to give them tools and to serve them in this now and all nows coming forward of intense choice to deepen their alignment with themselves and their divine truths, to be that, to speak that, to walk that, to offer that to all others that are reaching for this space but are not in it. And for those that do not even know to reach for this space because they are lost, for those souls that are lost in their old patterns of ways of existence, old thoughts, old themes, to offer light and to pierce through the muddledness of their existence, to bring them into clarity and to truth, and ultimately to lead them and to assist them into a higher existence and a higher light for themselves, to offer their beautiful personal realities, which connect together and create all that is. Thank you. So it is. May the blessings be.
Thank you. Thank you. Now that is, there's a difference when you hear something like that from somebody like Carolyn. It feels so real and it feels so divine. And then you could hear somebody else say almost the same thing, but it would sound so scripted and forced. But there sure is a different feeling behind it. You know, it's not even just the words; it's the feeling. And yeah, Carolyn, how do you feel since we've been doing these? Does it help get you more in tune with the show or prepared? I
Yeah,
forget to ask you that question.
I get humbled. Because there's a part of me, because for all of us, we have many different aspects of us, right? We have the one that stands in front and says, I can do this, I'm good, I'm solid. And then we have the old aspects of us that want to come forward and judge us and put us down and not support us. And those are the aspects of us, and this exists within every soul, that you can choose to send compassion to. You can choose to hold them in a place of comfort, because the you ideally that you stand in now has been there, and you know what's needed in that space, and your judgment and your condemnation of those voices doesn't help. And so it's kind of a place where you get more and more humbled, in my opinion, and you just kind of open and you allow, trusting that as you hold the intent of like service, or to offer your highest, that it comes through. And then it's kind of the place where you just step away, because it's not you, if that makes sense, Larry.
Yeah, you put it out there, and then you can only go so far with it. It's up to the individual hearing this, how they're going to perceive it, right? I mean, I can sit here and say what I just said about the way I feel about it, right? But I can only speak for myself. Like you talk about a lot, you can only, when you're given your opinions and what you do and your counseling and things like that, you can only tell people from what your perspective is and how you've dealt with similar situations, right? You can't say
Right.
what's absolute for anybody else, right?
Nope.
But then there's a lot of times, though, the vibe behind something can be picked up by the majority of people, if it's that if it's that strong. And I really feel that way, which hence the subject that we're talking about today, compassion, actually feeling compassion, love in action, right? Love in action. Love, the compassion is the love. When it's like, it's love in action. It's actually the motion of it going through. It's not just a one-liner, right? Compassion to me is love in action, love in motion, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. And I just feel that we've kind of came to this point in society where we're starting to make this turnaround where we're saying these things, but we're feeling them. It's like I'm always talking about becoming a more or empathetic instead of a sympathetic society, right? And the difference, becoming more of a responsive society instead of a reactionary society, right? We're not just saying those words kind of half-ass or uncomfortably because we want to get through the situation, or we just want it to end. We don't want to have to deal with the emotions of going through it, right? We just want everything to be okay. So instead of talking about things and getting them squared away right away, we'll just kind of kick the can down the road more and more. But I think we're starting to become more embodied with that feeling of compassion.
Right.
We've gone through these phases where we get these one-liners. I think we talk about this every show, at least to a point where we're becoming full of these feelings, these things that were seen as one-liners and just cliches to a lot of us in the past. Hence the golden rule. Hence, you can't love anybody if you don't love yourself. It's really knowing what these things mean and being full of the feeling of them. It's kind of a two-part process of really understanding what they mean, and then there comes the big point of getting full of that feeling. Um, have you noticed things changing in that regard as far as people really you feel it from them when they're trying to show compassion, whereas before, even if somebody meant it, they're kind of you feel like they're just trying to do the right thing because they don't want to see you upset, or they don't want to have to deal with you being upset, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen some shifts. I've seen small shifts. People that usually are more fixed, they're a little more open. It doesn't mean everybody, but it just happens bit by bit, one heart at a time. And the thing I don't want to voice, but I'm always given this, is
Mhm.
that there's some part of me that's really Buddhist. That's all I'm gonna say. Is
You're cute.
I connect with deeply with suffering, and how suffering serves us in terms of um, pushing each soul to the point where they're forced to see. And the other part I'm getting also is, when you see the suffering of others, it triggers you at some point. It can make you angry, it make you sad, but the bigger aspect of it is that it motivates you to make choices in your own life, and they may or may not be directly connected to the direct suffering you're seeing, but you personally make choices, which means that you shift within yourself. And when you make a shift like that, it's profound, because everything that you change within yourself, you change without yourself externally. And so when the suffering of another or the suffering of yourself triggers you, invites you to make a different choice, and the suffering is the anger and the sadness and the frustration and the fury and just the intensity, you know, or a situation where you find intolerable, it invites you to change. It invites you to a different perspective. And when you change your perspective on something, you see things differently, and everything shifts. From you're looking at your world like this to looking at your world like this, you see things differently. You see more within you. You see old patterns within you. You see old patterns in our society. It serves all. When a soul chooses to change, and the change isn't made from a place of fear, the change is made from a place of wanting something better, wanting something better for themselves, wanting something better for the world. It's
Mhm.
reaching for the more, it's reaching for the hope, it's reaching for the faith of something more. Does that make sense, Larry?
Yeah, it does. It comes back to me getting full of the feeling again. I mean, I feel more lately, well, except for like over the last 24 hours, because of some things going on with my family, and an accident that happened last night with my cousin and her nephew, my other cousin's son. They were in a head-on collision last night. But compassion, love in motion to me. Compassion, putting the service to others above your own needs, but at the same time, finding that happy medium where you find joy in that, right? Just that simple joy. And I really, what I guess I'm at a loss for, though, is I wish I could help people to understand how to get to that point a little bit better, right? Because for me, I couldn't tell you how I got there or how I've started to get there. It's just happened. And I don't know if that's just a product of spiritual work I've done, or if it's just the fact I've gotten lucky, or if it's just a matter of the tide is kind of changing with humanity in general. Maybe it's a little bit of all that. You know what I'm saying? It's really enjoying that being in service to others, but that's not to say to be walked on like walked walked like a dog or, walked over like a rug or anything like that while everybody else has the good time and you don't. That's not what I'm saying. But it's just that I feel like when you genuinely give that out and you're dealing with souls that feel the same way or close to it, right? You can get that back tenfold from what you put out. It can be a spiraling effect, right? If you're generally feeling that way and putting that out and you really feel that way, at some point when you surround yourself with the right people or in the right situation, you'll get all that spiral back to you. So for what you put out there as a blanket way of thinking, just maybe it could be like you're just putting it out to one person, but really you're putting it out to everybody you deal with. You're getting that back, however many fold, however many people receive that kind of treatment from you. I just feel like I feel a lot of gratitude, but then sometimes things will happen that they kind of make you take a look at it again, and it's all part of a test that goes on, right? Like with what's happened in the last 24 hours with that we've talked about on air with or off air with my cousin, her nephew, my other cousin's son home from the Navy right now. Um, yeah, so those kind of things but I stay steadfast in the fact that everything's going to be okay, right? It doesn't help to just continue to project a negative thought about it, and it comes back to that head game of really controlling how you think and feel, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at that situation right now. So sorry, everybody out there in the audience, I'm a little out of sorts right now, but I thought that this was a really important topic to, keep our commitment to do the show today. After Thursday, we weren't able to do it. So I'm glad everybody's here. I'm glad everybody listening on X, listening on Instagram, listening on TikTok, and watching live on YouTube. Welcome, and I'm so glad you're here. And Carolyn, of course, it's always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, something I'm going to say, we talked about it before, but I feel really compelled to mention it, is
Mhm.
it's slightly off topic, but then really not. You know, as what I'm receiving is, as we move more and more into the Aquarian age, and the walls come down and the masks come down and all of that comes down, then to me, what we receive as professional is going to shift, because the point isn't about putting on a face that is artificially anything. It's
Mhm.
learning how to do the balance of being authentic and being respectful, right? So to me, like we were saying before, um, there's no point in this podcast or any podcast if we are not accessible, if the steps that we offer to any soul that is called to this podcast, this now or any now, if they don't see a way for themselves to connect with these tools for their own reality. And so to
Mhm.
me, it means that it's you're dealing with that, and then I'm going to share this. I'm not going to share much because I respect my fiance, but he has a disability. He has a disability called DID, dissociative identity disorder.
Mhm.
And he has many personalities, and none of them are like Hollywood's painted them at all. And he lives this every day.
Mhm.
I've always thought that there are not many souls on earth that could navigate what he navigates every day. And so it's like, you know, this is part of my everyday reality. Um, he has an amazing heart from everything that's
Mhm.
happened. He's one of the most humble people I've ever met. And so it's like, you're dealing with that. This is part of my everyday. He's amazing. At some point, you guys will meet him. um, and so it's the whole point to me is to say, we're not these, and I don't feel people see us this way, but I want to be very clear. We're real
Mhm.
people. We live and we walk on this earth, and what's being offered is being offered for the highest service. For any that are seeing this, and like with what you're dealing with, Larry, and my everyday, and everybody is dealing with something, because we are at, we're transitioning out of Piscean. At some level, you could say we're not in the Piscean, we're in the Aquarian age, and we've got all of these challenges, is one level to say it, and all of these shifts, or all of these energies pouring in. Like we talk about the light codes, and we talk about the frequency and the Schumann resonance, and all of these. These are all intended to push us, right? And they expand us, they push us, they invite us into higher frequencies. And we are all here, to me, and I've said this in other podcasts, but to me, I always receive that every soul here now in July 2025, every soul on earth is doing heavy lifting. Every soul on earth is being challenged, probably much more than they would have been other lifetimes, because this is the lifetime
Mhm.
that the shit that we've dealt with in other lifetimes and the karma and all that stuff, what I always receive does not go forward. It ends here. The buck stops here. It ends here. We, as a collective of those that are here to transform this reality and are doing that and have done that to a large extent, is what I'm hearing, are like, we're ending those cycles, we're ending those patterns. It ends here, with all respect to our ancestors, because they had to go through the shit, right? But it's like, so that means that we are all challenged. um it's hard. Can you compare it to this lifetime, last lifetime? All I'm going to say is they didn't deal with the intensity of things that we're dealing with now, in terms of the all of the other things I was mentioning a minute ago. And so we're all being challenged to rise up, and we're all coming to this place because at some level we are fully capable of it. Not that it's easy. I mean, we're having this podcast on compassion, love, and action, which ultimately, to me, we're talking about love. And I mean, that's a big kahuna. That's a
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
thing,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
it's like, part of me is like, how dare you? But the other part of me is like, why not? How
Yeah,
can we
really.
not? How can we not discuss this? To me, this is the white elephant in the room for everybody. And it's
Absolutely.
like, it's all about the expansion into this, allowing this as I receive, and I offer this only for where I live,
Yeah.
and the other thing, if you're open to it, Larry, is I'm going to show that analogy that my guides gave me, about
Yeah.
the, yep. Okay.
Hold
So
on. When you say where you live, are you talking about per se, or you mean like San Antonio, Texas? Okay, go ahead. I'm giving you a bad time, but
frequency,
right.
where the frequency that I live in, and the frequencies that I go up and down, for all of us,
Yeah,
right? Because we
right,
all
right.
live in those frequencies. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So the analogy my guides gave me, and I was given some pretty harsh clarity this morning, which is everything that my guides give me is to be shared. I thought so, but I wasn't 100%, but I got that really clearly today. So I was given to this years ago, and part of me is still processing this, but the more that I've connected with it, the more I'm like, okay, it makes sense. So I didn't check on this, but I'm pretty sure. So in sign language, you've got like, I think is it this? I can't remember. It's like this is day, and like this is night. Down here, this is night, and this is day. So it's a full circle, basically, a full circle. So what my guides gave me years ago is they showed me this when I asked about love.
Mhm.
This is love. This is the light. This is the day. And this is love. This is the night. This is the dark.
Mhm.
And what they showed me is it's not this beautiful, awesome, joyful, blah, 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 blah expression. It's not just that. It's the whole thing. I always receive love is everything in the glue of everything. And
Right.
it was kind of put in my face today because I was kind of clarifying. I'm like, well, I mean, are you sure? Should I share this? Because some people might be, and they were like, well, how you've been given love, right? Everything in the glue of
Yeah.
everything. Well, isn't this part of everything? Everything. And so what I was given was, you got those experiences, you've got those happy, beautiful, wonderful experiences. Will you appreciate those because of
Yeah.
the dark, awful, nasty, horrible experiences? And there's a deeper appreciation, just like when you have these awful ones and then you have wonderful ones, and each one, the contrast of is what makes you appreciate the light and the dark, because ultimately the wholeness of you, the wholeness of each of us is the dark and the light. It's not just the light. And so that's something that they were giving me, was to show you guys this, to show you that an experience is a full circle. The light
Mm-hmm.
and the dark, love is the full circle. You okay, Larry?
Mm-hmm.
I can see you moving through motions
Yeah, I
of
got the
emotion.
sun. No, I got the sun piping in here. It's funny you were talking about the flood warning where you're at, and I was wishing that I had your
Yeah.
rain. I've got the sun piping in here from the Oregon coast, and usually, it's been really wicked, of course, lately with the intensity of it going on, and
The
so
Syrian.
I've got the corner of my eye doing the old two-step boogie over here at the window. Yeah, I
You
gotta
gotta fix
step
it.
a little
You
bit.
gotta fix it. Fix it.
Yeah, I
You
might
know?
have. Yeah, sorry if I'm a little bit darker now, but yeah, it was having me play the. For those of you that aren't watching on YouTube, yeah, it was. I felt like John Travolta out on the disco with my eyes. Yeah, there we go. Now it's a lot better now, actually. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was
So,
also think. Go ahead. Yeah,
yeah,
go
go on.
ahead. I have one after that, but go ahead.
Go on, Larry. No, you're good. Go on.
Well, I was just thinking last night when I was I remember when I was doing a little research for the show, one of the examples that they were giving about, taking joy in other people's happiness. They were given a couple as an example, right? And they were talking about, well, the mother or the wife wanted her mom to come and stay for 3 months, and the husband was feeling apprehensive because he knew that could lead to some arguments, and he wasn't going to be happy. He didn't think he was going to try to stay away from home as much as he could, but it was the guy who was writing the article, his opinion that the husband should really take some joy in it because it was giving his wife joy to have her here. And on the same token, if the shoe were on the other foot, right, the wife should take joy in it if that made her husband happy for for something like that. If his mother wanted to come stay, her mother-in-law. And then I was thinking, that is true. That is true. And I think that I could make a million jokes about that scenario, but I'm sure we've all been there. But it is about finding that balance, and it's about finding that way to make something like that work, right, and be in joy because hey, put yourself in that situation. You're happy because your spouse, your loved one, has has one of their loved ones that's not always there, that gets to stay and spend some time with them, right? And I thought, wow, how neat would that be? That would be really neat because myself personally, I've been on both. I hate to admit this in 3D, but I've been on both ends of it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that it's a fine example of how how things should be and could be. But I think then the big question is getting to that point, right? And honest communication, the times we're living in, you're right. We're only given as much as we can handle, I guess. There had been generations past where this would sound really woo woo to be talking about a subject like that. Of course, anything we talk about, Carolyn, would be woo woo, yeah,
For sure.
any other generation besides now, right? Yeah, I mean, it really would be. And, my thing is there I find myself struggling with, is there techniques I need to start using and taking up, or is it just something that, it happens because we're going through this transition as a race of people, or, is it a little bit of both, or do I think too much? Or do I have autism? Probably a little bit of all that is true, which most of it is, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm asking within myself right now. There was a point for me that I reached 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more, where peace really began to anchor within me, like
Mm-hmm.
beyond the point where my mind would say that this happens and you're going to freak out, and then the thing would happen and I would be observing it, and I would be watching me observing it, not cut off from my feelings in my heart, but like having full awareness of it and consciously choosing something different.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I've anchored into that, the more that it's like I don't have that trigger anymore. I used to have this, that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm like, could you trigger me? Well, I mean, but could things piss me off? Yeah, I can get pissed off at things, but
Right.
it's like I'm hearing something like I'm more deliberate about the choosing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because some things are worth being pissed off about, right? But
Yeah.
it's like, and I've said this before, to me, one of the most sacred things I can give myself is peace. And I know as I hold this peace, it's not blind peace. Peace, and
Mm-hmm.
there's even a blessing pick that came through me years ago. And blessing picks, for anybody that don't know me, are the images I've created, which are like languages infused photography, images that my ancestors have given me, and the words that come through, that channel through. And one of my blessing picks is called "Peace Isn't Passivity." And
Mm-hmm.
peace is not this energy where people think that you're not, it's actually intentionally having awareness of this other, and holding this place of faith, and holding this place of hope and stillness within you, knowing that the effect that you have it on your own personal reality is profound, and it goes out, and it's like this inner
Yeah.
knowing. And so
Very well
I
put. And I don't think I've ever really heard it broken down that way. In fact, I'll tell you the truth. I don't think I've really ever heard it broken down to begin with, period. Because usually when you hear that, a lot of times, you'll hear that and yeah, that sounds great. But, again, it goes back to one of those things that can sound like a cliche again, right? And you
yeah
just articulated it really well. Like I said,
the
probably the
the
first time I've ever heard it articulated, to be honest.
the thing I would offer is and I'm kind of getting this right now, is that the warriors of the past now they're like warriors of peace. And to me, those are two words that don't also always connect, warriors and peace. But it's like there's a fierce energy
Mm-hmm.
required, but it's not a fierce energy of like anger. It's a fierce energy. So for me, the energy that is the strength behind love is power. And power to
Mm-hmm.
me is the real true power is not about our small wills. It's about our full will, our divine will, which is the will that we are being merged with either divine will or surrendered to it. And to me, that's true power. And
Yeah.
that's the energy behind love. That's what I always receive. And peace, and holding peace as much as possible, that resonates with you, that calls you into your center, where you can see your world spinning and you're in this place of stillness, not in a place of coldness or cut offness, but from a place that you know that you're getting pissed off. Not that there's not validity to that choice sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but you're getting pissed
Mm-hmm.
off will not serve in that circumstance. And so you hold, it's like ferociously is almost what I'm hearing, but not in
Mm-hmm.
a, you hold this intense, deliberate pillar of light and strength and peace within you. And the reason I brought this up is because the reason of this podcast I offer is that the way that you would hold this strength within you is because you have done work or in inner work that is showing you, revealing to you that you matter, that you have worth in your own experience, that you are not here by accident, that you are not random, that those things that happened to you before that hurt or that are hurting are not worthless, and you are not worthless in them. And
Right.
that as you move through those experiences and you begin to connect the dots of your truth in those spaces of what you are, and you begin to connect with your own wisdom that you derive from your own pain and your own suffering, and you finally allow yourself peace, because peace begins within self and then is given out to the world. And
Yeah.
as you give yourself peace, meaning that you at some point begin to accept everything that happens to you. And acceptance isn't an energy of saying, I deserve this. No, not at
Right.
all. That's a bunch of bullshit. Acceptance
Mhm.
is an energy that says, okay, this happened. It sucked completely.
Right.
I didn't like it at all, but yes, it happened. And now I'm at this place. And now I can
Mhm.
see myself this way because of these things that happened. I didn't like them. They sucked. I wish they could have been
Yeah.
different. But look at what the outcome is for me. Look
Look
at
what
what
came
I
out of
can
it.
now see in myself because of this. So, peace to me ultimately is a gift you give yourself, and it's an element of love, and it comes from the deepening of the roots of who you are and allowing yourself to exist and be and have space in your space. That sounds trite, but it's like to take up
No.
space in your world. Does that make sense, Larry?
Yeah, and a thought came to my mind too is, do you think that we forget easily how, okay, like we are all the spark, we're the spark of the divine, we're part of the divine. Do you think we lose track sometimes that other people are that same spark as well, and that maybe we still get stuck in that mode of thinking, okay, we're the only ones that are going through this? I mean, we know we're not, but we I think we still have a habit of thinking that maybe other people can't relate, or they're not feeling that same sensitivity that we are too, because maybe they show it in a different way, or we perceive that they're showing it in a different way. And so we
Right.
think that, okay, we're the only ones that could be affected by this. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, but not really. I mean, it just seems like we lose track of that. Like we almost think that that other person is from a goddamn another planet. Well, which most of us are anyway. But I mean, you know what I mean? That they're not of the same kind of a DNA structure that you are, the same build, the same build up emotionally, that affects you the same way emotionally and mentally too. I mean, we know that we're all built alike, but as far as inside our souls, the way we feel, I mean, we're not so far. The most extreme of us to the other extreme of us is not so far apart, really, as I think a lot of us think, or we sometimes feel when we're in those lonely moments of frustration and despair.
Right. Right. And that's important to remember. Yeah, that's certainly one of the things that held me back from being able to do this for the longest time,
Mhm.
because I was worried about other people's judgments and worried
Yeah.
about, you know, I had to reach a point within myself where I decided it was time to honor me. I decided it was
Mhm.
time that the things that I have learned can serve others, and I finally allowed myself to begin to see the patterns of, you know, who calls me when they're in troubled
Mhm.
places. My soul family, I talk to them for long periods of time, or I have before, right? And how did I eat when I was going through some really troubled times? Well,
Mhm.
I would trade my soul family would feed me in trade for sessions, right? I mean,
Right.
at some point I began to allow in that I'm hearing I have something to offer. Um, and and to ground
Self-worth.
into myself more. Yeah, to ground into myself more, and
Mhm.
to reach a buildup of within myself of tired of holding myself back. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Tired of not sharing what comes through me that could serve others more than just my soul family, more than just the few that I reach, on social media, and and like I've told you, Larry, and I told my love this too, that you know I know when I leave this earth, I will be very happy, very proud of myself that I have stuck myself out and opened up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is me on in this space, you know.
look at the spot you've made it to, right? You've already accomplished so much, and it's just amazing. I know I've seen you come a long way last year, where you were apprehensive about coming on air, and I would even be thinking like, and I was like, Carolyn, come on, what the hell are you worried about? But it took me getting there too. But it took me to where I really never found that happy medium. I just got to the point where I just didn't, I kind of had that I don't care anymore, so I'm just going to do it. So whatever, you know what I mean? So what the fuck? Just go ahead and who gives a fuck what anybody thinks, and if they've got a problem, whatever. Either they'll whatever, they'll still exist and I'll still exist, and either they'll be in a they'll be there and they'll be in a state of coolness with it, or they'll be in a state of not coolness with it, or they'll just be in a state of being
Yeah.
with it. You know what I mean? Or they'll
And
or
that,
they
and that's
won't.
their
Or
stuff
either.
too.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing that I've learned is that's their stuff. And it doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with me, and I want to say
Right.
hi to my babe because my babe I see you, babe. I love
Mm-hmm.
you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And that's a big one too. And to me, that connects with the fact that, um, you know, when you see another suffering and they say they don't want your help, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I've said in other podcasts. You see another suffering, they say they don't want your help. So you have a choice. You can have the mentality that you're still going to help them because your help is like, out of this world and it's going to make that
Yeah, the
difference.
end all be all, right.
Or you can respect their choice depending on the type of relationship it is, the intimacy of the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and you can send them compassion and you can pray for them and you can feel out that actual statement, I don't want your help. Well, is that somebody you really know? You really know them, and that's something they say when in reality they do. It's just an automatic thing they say. Or is it somebody you barely know and your most loving choice is going to be, okay, I got that. Okay, I don't want your help. That's fine. I'm gonna send them compassion. I'm gonna pray for them, and
Yeah.
I can see what they need, and so maybe I will go research this agency and bring them a piece of paper and say, hey, why don't you call? Why don't you
Right.
call here?
So,
Here's my
yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think we have a habit of basing our previous experiences with people that we know better, like in a situation like that. Well, this is how this person would have done, or this has been my experience. But yeah, I found that if nothing else, it's the opposite for me. If I don't know them on that kind of a level, right, I will maybe wish them some good luck. But I kind of back off because I don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that motherfucker that's seen as being like I'm trying to be too pushy into their lives. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Right.
be seen as that guy that, oh, well, they've told me they don't want my help, so I'm not going to come and ask them again and again and again. I'll check in with them from time to time and may reiterate the offer now and then, but I'm very cautious not to be seen as that person that's trying to get into their fucking lives. Because, I'll tell you one thing, I really sure as hell don't want them in my fucking life. I mean, I don't mean it like that, but I don't want, unless I really let them know that I'm okay with that, I don't really want them to have anything to do with, getting involved with me unless it's something unless I can see a benefit from it right away to my well-being and myself healing or whatever it is that I might be going through, right? But then there's
Right.
different degrees of that too. You can be so desperate and so down that, you're just looking to latch onto anything, that can help you out. And again, we talk about it in every show, discernment, discernment, discernment. I guess everything is just with discernment, right? No matter where you're
Right.
at. And it goes back to this too, is that no matter where you're at and any second that you're in, that's all that there is. Okay, so you have the past that you can draw from experiences to think things through. But the future hasn't happened yet. So you're in that moment right there. And really, that's all there is in that moment. You can't say what's coming around the corner. You can kind of give innate possibilities to yourself, but
Mhm.
you don't know for sure. So you can't say for sure. So the only thing you can try to do is make your way the best you can through any moment that you're in, right? And,
Right.
and be sure to reiterate like you do with people when giving advice. This is the way that I've done it, or but I only know what has worked for me. I can
Yeah.
just kind of help you draw from my experiences, but then again, scenarios are always different, right? There's always varying degrees of everything that you're dealing with, including how you're feeling at the time about something per se.
Right. To qualify it. Yeah. Um, the the thing I wanted to bring up, and I said this in another podcast, but I mean the reason I come at it the way I do is because, you know, I used to have that mentality that some people still do of saving others. And I don't even personally like the word helping. And this is just me. I've always felt
Mm-hmm.
the word helping has a level to it, that the help, with all
Mm-hmm.
respect that those that resonate with this word, this is just me, that to
Mm-hmm.
help another means that there's some kind of, I'm above this person here. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I have intentionally, and I intentionally changed that word to assist or aid, which puts me at the same level as the person. Um,
Sympathy
yeah.
versus empathy, basically. Yeah.
babe is Babe is talking about his past right now, my
Oh, is
love.
he? Yeah.
You
We'll
want me
we'll
to
save
say
that for
that,
the
my
late
love?
night show.
Where he used to, okay, so I'm just going to be very brief, my love. Where he used to see like a woman that would need help, and then he was in this place. He was very respectful, my love. Where he was narcissist. Do I call you
Oh
that,
yeah.
babe? You know, where he was
There's no
arrogant.
way.
Yes, you know, with no, all of us have that, all of us can have that, right? Is and he put in the comments what he calls himself, or what he called himself then, because he was thinking he was helping a woman who needed help, and he called himself Captain Save-A-Ho. Because he thought he was helping a woman, yet he would want to sleep with this woman because,
Yeah.
you know, he thought in him sleeping with them he was helping them, and that was his mentality at that time, was that yes, that's my babe. He's not there anymore because
He got
got
promoted
his,
to admiral from the captain. Their captain. I won't say the other
did
three
I not
words, but
get
he
that
got
right?
promoted to admiral.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
not there
Yeah.
anymore. He got his heart
Right.
broken, and since then he's gone through tremendous healing and transformation many times. I hope I'm saying this right, babe. Um, yeah, but he's mentioning. I think he's
He's
saying that too
reformed.
because he's talking about arrogance. So what
Yeah.
my guide taught me years ago was, you know, if you think you knew better than somebody in their own experience, it's not helpful. It's called arrogance. And
Yeah.
you know, we've been talking about assisting others, aiding others, and that's significant because nobody is above us and nobody is below us. We're all in that same experience. You know, we're
Right.
coming at it differently, but
You
we're
should
all in
always
the
look
same
down your
experience.
glasses. He should put his glasses on and look down over the glasses at him when he's saying, giving them this advice. It always helps to look over your glasses at somebody, like you're looking down, but look over your glasses at them, giving that eye. Yeah, well, I would have, I should, I could have, I did, I would have, I wouldn't,
There
I
he is.
would have, always, I never do, I always do. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it, babe. He's saying you can only save yourself. Yes, my love. Yes, my love. Yes, you can only save
Mm-hmm.
yourself. You can only, yeah, you can only do
Cliche of the
for
day.
you. You can offer to others, but you know they're the ones who have to make the shifts within themselves to make that change.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because about the whole topic of this podcast, that
Yeah.
they begin to have compassion for themselves, and they begin to see that they deserve space in their life.
They've got
Yeah,
to take it like they're okay, in a way, in a sense, they've almost got to look at it like they're the only ones in this existence, without sounding selfish, but like they're alone on an island. There is nobody else to impress. There is only yourself, right, to make happy at that point, right?
right,
But that doesn't mean you should. But unfortunately, the dichotomy of that too is you do live in a society around other people,
right.
right? So you've got all these little factors. I guess such as the challenges of life and why we're on here. Um,
Yeah,
you've got to try to traverse your way through that universe, right? Of finding that balance of not just, oh, fuck everybody and everything. I'll just walk, I'll just pull over everything in my path, right? To get what I want or get what I think that I need, maybe what I think that I want instead of just what I need, right? Um, so there's kind of that interesting little duality there of, how do I work it?
oh,
How do I do it? And I think everybody then again, they start going and looking from without to find those answers. So it's tough
yeah.
sometimes.
The thing that popped in my thoughts a minute ago is to share, and this is just me. You take or leave what you want, but this is how my guides define love, and they gave this to me many years ago. And Yeah.
They say with the many splendid things, but no, go ahead.
No, love. The way that they
Yeah.
do love, because they gave me things in acronyms, and I have lots of things in acronyms. Love, listen, open, value, existence, let, openness, validate, experience. So for me, and I've said this in another podcast, love is about your ability to be open in an experience. And then I've given this before. The visual I've always been given within myself is that reality for each of us. This experience is like, we're like in a tube, we're in a circle. And if you hold judgments on yourself or others, you're holding on to the sides of this tube. But your ability to be discerning and to be open, to be willing in an experience with discernment, allows you to float in the middle of that experience, to not hold attachments. Does that make sense? That's
Yeah,
the
it
one
does.
they've given me.
Right. Well, and for those who are just listening to the broadcast, Carolyn is a master at speaking with her hands. You want to know that she did a great job of articulating that with her hands for sure, talking with her hands. And that brings up something funny, Carolyn. I got to tell you, the other day, I could overhear my parents talking, and my dad was asking my
Yes,
mom,
my
why
baby.
in the fuck do people talk with their hands? Do they have a problem? Why are they talking with their hands like that all over the place? It looks like they're going to start swimming away. And immediately I didn't say anything, but I thought of Carolyn. I'm like, oh God.
No,
I'm like, Dad,
I
because
just
some
talk with
people
my hands. It's
communicate that
me.
way. Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, people do. Yeah, it's to get a point across sometimes. I mean, granted, it's not always that somebody looks like they're getting ready to do the 100-meter breaststroke, right? I mean, it's there's validation with it, and I do it too sometimes. In fact, I can get carried away with it, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then my babe just put something up, which is where babe, love is patient, love is kind, it does not keep records of wrongs. Yes, my love. Yes,
That
my
is
love.
true too.
Yeah, that's
That is
true
true.
too.
Now getting the collective to be full of that and understand that there's the whole nother issue, right? But it
Right,
is true. It is true. If
right.
we could just know it and then feel it and understand it, but actually embody it. I hate saying live it because I almost feel like when I say we got to live it, and it's like with you with help, it makes me feel like it's something so you got to live it. Just live it. But it's something we need to, I guess, embody.
Embody it.
Right.
Yeah.
Embody another. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Again,
the
we get
other
into
part of that,
the
did
yeah.
we, I don't know if we said it earlier, was is to be accessible, you know,
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
path you've walked and the things you say,
Mm-hmm.
as you choose, as you want or intend this, are accessible to others so that they can copy, they can take portions of and morph it to their own, for their
Yeah.
own choice. And
Leading by example, right? Again,
fix it.
another cliche, but it's by example, right? It's more so that the example than the words, right? In most situations.
Right. It's just pick it apart, what works.
Yeah.
um you know when I was given that analogy, that definition, that what do you call it, I can't think of the word, for love, it allowed me to break things down for me, because to me,
Well, God damn
the
it,
whole
remember it.
point,
Hurry up. Remember this whole thing. You mean you can't come up with the word? Yeah. Like, seriously, this is important,
well,
man.
to me the point is to live life through an open heart,
Hmm.
a discerning heart, but an open heart.
Yeah.
And to hold judgments back, not discernment. Discernment is an action of the heart,
Yeah.
judgment is an action of the mind. And to be able to receive and perceive from a place where you are not holding on to the old, you have awareness of, but you are still opening to the new, and you allow in different things, maybe even things that you never would have done before, but you've done enough inner work on yourself to realize that those choices you hadn't made before were only because you had blocked them by your own patterns.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Larry.
Yeah, and then you wonder where in the hell, where is this where has this been my whole life? Or, why didn't I figure this out sooner? Right? It's just kind of, you're like, God, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I come to this realization? Sometimes it's those moments where one thing snaps in place and, it just, then all of a sudden it's there. It's like you've already always known 9/10 of it, but you need that one little last aspect or whatever the situation may be to get that to
Right.
totally click in, right? And I think that a lot of those kind of moments are going on right now throughout
Yeah.
society. A lot of different scenarios are bringing forth a lot of those. Well, a lot of those scenarios are bringing forth a lot of those scenarios. We're
And then
we're right where people are having that happen.
that's the truth. My love just put up something else. I see that, babe. These are just things he lives by because
Yeah,
he's a very wise guy, and his thing is say what you mean what you say, don't say it mean. And that's something that
embody
I've
it. Yeah,
learned.
embody it.
I've learned.
Embody it, because embody it totally. And that there's another key is also then knowing that and embodying it, because you could be a junior high teacher and put all that shit up on the clipboard or up on the chalkboard, right?
Right.
And really you're just doing it to go through the motions. But it's really the feeling behind it, right? And usually you can tell the feeling behind it when you're interacting with somebody who's putting it forth, right? Or maybe it's that you're not willing to go there with those yet. But
That could
yeah.
be, yeah.
Yeah, that could be too. I'd like to think, because it could be just that, oh, we think, well, they don't mean it, but maybe in their own way they do, because some people's sense of a movie that they might think is really, really cool. And I think, God, that's really dorky. How could they possibly? But to them, it's really special and it's really important, right? And
Yeah.
something I might think is really cool and special, they're like, God, how lame, So
Yes.
it's really more of a feeling behind something, sometimes, most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. But I like what he has to say. I think those are very powerful, and it needs to be broken down like that a lot of the time, but then also the discussion to be had with it.
Yes. Yeah. He's anybody who's here. He's in the comments. This is my babe.
Yeah,
And
I'm looking at a distance because my eye, I don't have my glasses with me right now, and yeah, I see that.
you
I,
see him.
I'm playing the sun through the blinds game here
Is it
in the
okay?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm cool. I'll just be doing a Stevie Wonder here in a minute, or a Ray Charles, and Georgia. Okay, yeah,
The
just an old sweet song.
Yeah, the only thing that popped in my head was that we are either edging into, moving into, or we're at the edges of the age of Aquarius. Maybe you could say we're in it, but we're not like in it yet. And one of the key foundations of the age of Aquarius is compassion.
Hmm.
And it is, unlike the age of the Piscean age, compassion in the age of Aquarius is necessity. It's a survival skill to move through because it allows flexibility, and the flexibility is required. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, they're the
isn't
only
that
thing.
interesting though? Isn't that
Yeah,
interesting? The survival skill, like it's completely going to flip on what it was. The survival skill from
completely.
before were like, because you did certain things just to get along, right? Now those certain things that you did just to get along, it's going to be required for survival that you don't do those kind of things, right? That you're
Right.
conscious that you're not doing those kind of things, but we've been programmed as a society to approach things like that and be on the defense, and be very careful and calculated with our words and whatnot, right? Not that you should just go out and tell everybody to fuck off that you want, you feel that way about, but but at the same time, it's going to be, if you're truly coming from a spot of the heart center, you really don't have to be so worried about anybody thinking, because it's going to be, the more onus is going to be on them to keep
Yeah.
their fucking mouth shut if they don't have anything nice to say at all. You know what I mean? And we've heard, there's
Yeah.
another case that we've always heard: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And usually when you hear people say that, it's just out of their ignorance and frustration because they don't know how to handle the situation. But the truth of the matter is it really is true. And then then there is a time and a place for everything, right? We talked about that. There's a time and a place for everything, but those times and those places for those kinds of things are so far and few between, right? That it's not even a matter to bring up as far as when it's appropriate and when it's not. I mean, boy, you'll really know when something like that is really appropriate. If it's necessary to, be what can be perceived as shitty in a situation. I mean, they're not. They're just a rarity in reality. So I don't want to put it out there like, oh, there's a time and a place for everything, when really some people will never, if ever, or rarely ever, hardly ever encounter, situations like that. They may want to think they're in a scenario like that, but really it's not. It's, you know,
The thing
I mean,
I've been getting as you've been talking is that somebody could put up something that is, fuck you or whatever. They could do that if they're being authentic,
yeah.
and they're doing it from a place not of anger but of like expressing their truth, which is something that they've come to from a place of um discerning their worth, feeling their worth, connecting with their worth, because
Yeah.
that would serve those that come forward now and are doing things that they say fuck you to somebody, and they're doing it out of malice
Yeah.
or they're doing it out of anger. Well, they'll be respected for that choice. However,
Hmm.
there will be digging below that. People will be giving comments of, there'll be people that will give compassionate comments of, hey, what's going on? There'll be others
Hmm.
saying, hey, what's your problem? But
Hmm.
none of it, it's not going to just sit. Like in the past, people might be like, oh, yeah. There might be some, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, fuck that, fuck you, fuck.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's going
That's
to go,
typical right there. Yeah, that you're
it's
gonna get a
going
lot
to
of that
go
reaction there. Yeah.
below that. It'll go
Hmm.
below that now. That's not just going to, you can't just be angry and aggressive and throw it out there and not expect people to, one, they're not going to ignore the aggression, and they're not, what I'm getting is they're not going to ignore the aggression, not to attack the person. There'll be some that attack because they are attacking within themselves, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But there'll be others who've done a lot of work, and they'll see that person saying fuck you, maybe it's a thing on Instagram,
Yeah.
and they will
Well,
dig
where else?
below, and they
Yeah.
will get to that root. And the time now that we're moving into of the Aquarian age, there's no more mask. If you
No.
come up and you say fuck you, and it's about this thing and you're angry, well, then you're going to be put on the spot, not to judge
Hmm.
you, but to be like, hey man, we
Yeah.
understand you're
Yeah.
pissed about this. What do you
Yeah.
want to do about it? How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this thing within yourself? What about
Yeah.
this? Did you deal with this kind of thing as a child? Hey, I dealt with this kind of thing myself. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like all of these secrets, the ones individual within each soul and the ones the external, are all coming out, and they're all going to be seen. And it's not going to all happen at once. It's happening gradually. But it's
Yeah.
like, because it's about healing. To me, what I receive is this whole age that
Hmm.
we're moving into is about healing. Healing is not a place of anything being hidden. Healing within me is a place of, it's everything being brought into center and into
Yeah.
balance. So those things that are now out of balance, clearly out of balance, are not hidden and are going to be
Mhm.
brought into balance one way or the other. And so, because it's about authenticity, but authenticity isn't this place where you're spitting out your anger and you're not taking
Yeah. Yeah.
responsibility
Right.
for that, right? It's a place where
Yeah.
you're like, you're spewing out this anger and you're explaining why, a valid
Yeah.
reason why you're angry, why, how you feel this way, and why you feel this way, with no judgment. And then you're going to get people, I keep thinking of a person on Instagram, and then you're going to get comments, people saying things that are pretty cruel, pretty stupid, pretty whatever this. Then you're going to get
Yeah.
others who've done a lot of
Yeah.
work,
You're right.
and will see your smoke screen from a mile away,
Sure,
Larry.
sure. Thankfully, there's yeah, and thankfully, there's more people that are going to be like that right now, because
Yes.
there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that would chime in with some stupid shit that they wouldn't say to you in real life, because they have the guts not to, or they don't have the guts to, and it isn't even a matter of having the guts to. It's a matter of yeah, they just wouldn't do it. They would keep it to themselves, but they feel so empowered. But I'm seeing less and less of that, although it still exists. Now that I say that, Carolyn will probably see a whole shitload of it this weekend, right? On the social media platforms. So, Murphy's Law, I'll see a bunch of people, coming in and doing that. But I don't. with me still, I don't hesitate to shut people down right away that start in with that. I mean, either
Yeah.
block them or then block them. I just, tell them what I feel about what they've had to say, and we both have an exchange, and then that's it, and you move on, right? But still,
Yep.
people will do that, and then I wonder too. Then I always look at I about only 10% of it, Carolyn, is what they've said that I look at. The most of it is I look at why they would say it and why they
Right.
would put it that way and why they felt the need to interject into that. Now, if they had some life-saving advice to give on the subject that they weren't really having they weren't necessarily a part of that conversation or that thread before. If they have some life-saving, valuable information to chime in with out of nowhere, that's one thing. But then if they're just coming in to say, well, that's stupid or that's lame or that's rubbish or what, things of that nature. I'll give you an instance. This guy the other night, I couldn't believe it. I don't even know if he was putting me on. I think he might have been screwing with me because it's something I would probably actually do. He I posted a post by a young lady who was talking about the divine feminine really stepping into their forefront right now and becoming who they are and all of that, and that times have changed, the whole thing, right? And then some guy messages in with or comments in with, that's a bunch of rubbish. It's Mother Gaia that's ascending. It's not the divine feminine. It's Mother Gaia. And I said, well, how do you figure, dude? I said, I'm like, Mother Gaia is the divine. The divine feminine is Mother Gaia. What? How do you figure? But he claimed that it was rubbish because it's not the divine feminine ascending; it's Mother Gaia that is. I said, well, we live on Mother Gaia. I said, hey, well, whatever. But I still, and I said a couple things to him. He said, that's rubbish. That's rubbish. And I can't. I still don't know this day. He could have been He could have been one of my buddies with a fake account screwing with me because they know how passionate I get about that. But yeah, the divine feminine is not ascending. That's rubbish. Don't put such rubbish things out there. It's Mother Gaia that is. Okay. Okay. Well, hey, we're on it then. Cool. I guess. Yeah. Well, then it covers everything. But I
I
mean,
mean,
but dude, how do you figure?
if somebody said that to me, because I've had people
Yeah.
say all kinds of things to me, I'm gonna be
Right.
this is where I am, and
Yeah.
this is just me. This is how I feel in my gut. Is
Yeah.
to me the unconditional love we receive in every moment from Creator is choice. And so when
Yeah.
somebody comes up with some kind of far off thing to something I post, I'll heart it and I'll say thank you, or I'll
I,
say I appreciate
oh,
I
sure.
appreciate your choice, or because to me, we're not all here to be
Very
on the
cool.
same page. We're all here to see things in different perspectives, and then
Hmm.
to hold space for those other perspectives. That's the place where we're working on, is holding the
Yeah.
space for this perspective and holding the space for this one. Um,
I just thought that was wild. That was a classic. I'll never forget. Is that was his argument? Is that was rubbish because it's the Mother Gaia that's ascending, and don't put
so
such rubbish out there. He went on and on about putting such rubbish out there.
so his dogmaticness is revealing to you, revealing
Yeah.
to me for sure. It's a place where he's like adamant and he won't allow in another opinion, another thought, and that
Uh,
is a place of unfinished business.
he
you
sure
know
picked a hell of a hill to die on with that, though. Wow.
I mean, it's like, yeah, but it's like, I mean, even with why I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
it's why I'm here. It's what I offer. You take it, you resonate, that's beautiful. And if you don't, I respect you. You got your own space,
Yeah.
your own
Yeah, you're
reality.
right.
That's cool too. So for me, if I was in a place, because I was this way years ago, yeah, I had to go through it where I was like, this is it, this is it, this is it. Well, anytime
Yeah.
you
Oh,
say this is it, and I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I've done that with my babe with some things, I had to have it in my face.
yeah.
When you say that, you're locked in ego. You're like you're got blinders on, and we live on this earth, and so yeah, we run into places where we're just like this because that's part of existence. But the whole
Yeah.
point I feel is to continually work on taking off those blinders, continually work on an opening with and still being respectful of your core, of your discernment,
Mhm.
but continuing to open and allow in more and more opinions, more and more ways of seeing things, because
Mhm.
ultimately it only benefits you. I mean, it's your experience. You can change it, you can expand it, or you can be dogmatic in it, which basically puts you in a box.
Yeah.
um and we've all been there,
And
that's part of,
I really couldn't even go there with him on the sexist thing because he was talking about Mother Gaia ascending and it's Mother Gaia ascending, not the female divine, and so I'm like, he might have been trying to play me, but I thought, okay. And so I just reminded him, some basic facts that what she was saying was actually true, even from a 3D standpoint, because the divine feminine came into power finally after fighting and scraping for centuries. And I
yeah,
reminded him, look, man, in the United States, a female it was every credit card company's policy to not even give a female a credit card until 1973, unless
yep,
a man co-signed for it with her. I mean, I'm sure there were some exceptions like Patricia Nixon or maybe Lady Bird Johnson. Of course, they were married at the time. God rest their souls. But you know what I mean? I mean, so I had explained to him all this stuff, and he thought that was rubbish too. I said, okay, well, of course, it all
so he
is,
was in an argumentative space is what you're telling
Yeah,
me.
yeah. You
He
picked one hell
wanted
of a one
to
to go with. God,
argue.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, he wanted to argue, which means that he was dealing with
yeah,
personal energies within himself that were triggering
yeah,
him. And we've
yeah.
all been in very triggering energies in the last
Yeah,
few days. I mean,
sure.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I just, it was like telling me the sun what didn't really come up in June in Hawaii ever. It was just it was because of this. It was really the I don't know, the photon belt shining through or something. But yeah, but it just goes to show you that there are still everybody's still got a little bit of their stuff to deal with, and well, it was either that in this scenario or the guy really was getting ready to go on his next comedy tour on the road somewhere because
Push your
I
button.
couldn't,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The
you
other
couldn't, yeah, I was like, okay, that's funny, ha ha ha.
the other thing I'm being reminded of is the significance of holding your peace if it's a place where you choose to hold your peace, where you're
Yeah,
kind of like, I'm good. They're trying to push your buttons and you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to give you that energy. And
just
I'm
come a
not going
little
to,
bit better. Yeah, come a little
yeah,
with a little more game than that. I mean, you have a little more game than that shit. I mean, come
yeah,
on, you got 1,000 other things on here that we posted. You could really like have an opinion on, but this is what you're gonna, and then this is gonna be the argument you use with it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I put stuff out there that is, I mean, I know it's radical to some people. That's fine.
yeah,
Hey, that's fine. I've had to
yeah.
learn how to accept that over the years. And, I don't know. I put stuff out and some people are just like, I put something out and one of the responses was, no, that's not true at all. No, that's not. And
No,
I was
no,
like,
no, of course.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I
I've seen the
appreciate
light.
your
Yeah.
choice. Something like that,
Yo,
that's
I've seen the
fine.
light. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Don't you love that statement? No, that's not true at all. Instead of approaching it like, well, in my experience, I found for me, but that's just for me, this or that. No, that's not true at all.
No, that's not.
That couldn't
No,
have
that's
happened
not.
to you.
Yeah, it was like, no, that's not
Yeah,
true. No, that's not. They
yeah,
were, because
right.
I was talking about, my thing about the Sacred Heart and the
Mhm.
compassion and I don't know. No, that's not. No, that's not true.
Yeah, no, the only time you can say that really with a straight face is if you would have been saying something personally about them that wasn't true, personally. That was just personal about them, right? So then they have a leg to stand on when they're saying no, that's not true. But how they don't I take it this person didn't even know, even if they did, oh well. It doesn't make any difference either. But that's not true. Oh, that's not true. I like that. That's
I,
not true. I like that statement. I'm gonna have to digest that one for a while. That comment from her.
I'm,
That's not
I'm,
true.
I I feel like I'm ready for any of it, for all of it, because some of the things I bring through that come through me are pretty
Yeah.
radical, pretty different.
Yeah,
And
for you people, please believe me. This is not the controversy stirrer of all time in our community.
no,
Carol, very calm and methodical and brilliant, but to the point. And she's not putting out anything that is really like fucking should make people go, take a dive off a long bridge. I mean, really. Yeah, it's really amazing. You still get that.
it's okay. I don't get it. Like I mean, okay. I'm kind of being guided on how to say this. I like the challenge, but
Yeah.
I also love it when people appreciate. or resonate,
Sure.
because my whole point is to send it out to those,
Mhm.
to offer it to those that it will serve. Well, it serves those that, okay, to offer it those that will, I can't think how to phrase that, because it's like it
You'll
will
go
serve
vibe with it.
everybody.
Yeah, that it will hit home with, that deep resonance you
There
get
you
when you
go.
know somebody, right?
Thank
That
you.
deep resonance you feel when you vibe with somebody that,
Right.
and just because too, I said this to somebody the other day, just because you resonate with somebody, I'm not telling you because I really resonate with them that I think they're the end all be all of fucking information and could never give out a wrong opinion. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I resonate with their flow of how they do it. And for
Right.
the most part of what they say, how they do it, doesn't mean I'm telling you that these are the end all be all answer of anything. I think people get caught up in that
Swallow it
kind of
whole.
thing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that I swallow it whole, or that I think you should swallow it whole, or that I think you'll even fucking resonate with the person. You might resonate with somebody who's kind of like them, similar, but not exactly their style, right? A lot of times it's about the style and the flow and and all that stuff versus particularly exactly what they say. I mean, that helps, of course. I mean, if I didn't agree with anything they said and they just had a good flow about them, I'd say, well, I like the way they move and flow and shuck and jive, but I really don't agree with anything they say. That'd be another story. But that's how I would put it. Not, but it doesn't mean
So,
again. I think they're the end all be all of anything that has to be said.
yeah, when a person swallows it whole, that means that they are refusing to do their personal work on that. They're
Unbelievable.
just not choosing to take responsibility.
Yeah, well, this person said it. Well, this is what this person said. You know what I'll tell people? I put up with about 3 or 4 of those, if that, and I say, I don't. What do you think? Yeah, but what do to be nice? What do you think about it, though? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
That's not how I really put it. I really put it like, I don't give a fuck what that person says. They're not in our conversation right now. Who cares? I mean, really, what do you think? What do you say, though? I'm really on to you without getting rude. What do you think about it? How do you feel about that issue? What do you think about it? Not this person said this a hundred
Right.
thousand times. Who cares?
Right.
I mean, if they're talking about Nikola Tesla talking how to invent a new machine that's going to run things off of whatever, off of air or off of water or off of garbage, right? I might be like, yeah, man, wow, of course. But I mean, that's an extreme example. I'm not, I don't really care what any philosopher or anything that they heard has to say about what they're saying. Now I do to a point, but not when it's always their name brought up. Well, they said this. Well, they said that. Well, you ought to start working for their PR campaign or their PR company. I mean, you've missed your calling in life, you know.
I hear you.
But
I'm just,
it takes all kinds.
yeah, I'm getting this listing within me because the energy just kind of shifted and is kind of like, so
Yeah.
have we do you
Well, it's
feel
got
like
that time.
it just
Yeah,
shifted, and it just
of
the
course.
thought started to, and so I'm sitting here reassessing. It's like, so we talked about, we compassion, love in action, which you call it love in motion, which is beautiful. And how a soul comes to that, how every soul comes to that.
$1 million
And there's
question.
always
Yeah.
a choice, right? uh,
Mm-hmm.
and how it ultimately serves you. But you have to go through those experiences, that experience, excuse me, to see the other side. And then the other
Yeah.
one that I offered was my guides showing the love thing. This one, which I
Right.
sat on for a while because I'm still, part of me is just like, so those things down here, those are still love. And what I'm getting is, it all
Mhm.
is, again, they said it, but it all is, because you can't see one without the other. You can't see the light in the dark without the darkness. You can't see the dark in the light
Right.
without the light. It's the same thing. So that's what I'm being given. And
Going through it too. Yeah, you just hit on something. I'm foaming at the mouth to say this, but it's the
Yeah,
experience. A lot of times we don't want to have to face the fact. A lot of times you have to go through that experience. That doesn't mean if you have it, you set up some shit to make yourself go through it unnaturally. But a lot of times you have to have been through it. And
right.
I hate to have to tell people that because I don't know, sometimes I feel like I don't want them to have to go through and, face a hard
Of
lesson.
course,
And then
of course.
sometimes, it turns out that it had to be that way or it has to be that way, right?
Yeah.
But it's but then sometimes if you can know that, right, you don't always have to go through it though. You don't always. Sometimes if you're aware of it and know that, yeah, I probably have to go through it to completely understand it.
If you can be,
Sometimes,
yeah,
yeah,
the,
fake it till you make it.
I even said this in the last podcast, but these are just like themes that keep popping up, which is,
Mhm.
in the place where you are, where you're suffering and you are, um, seeking your answers externally because you don't really know yourself at all.
Right.
You are learning through fear and you are learning through
Mhm.
suffering, and
No.
it sucks, but to me, it's part of the human experience, as it has been in the Piscean age, is how I'm being qualified to say that. Now,
Everywhere. Yep.
now, as more souls are, they're doing their work in their work, I don't know, I want to say done. They're
They're anchoring the light more and more actually
anchoring
anchoring.
the light, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and these are connected, and I've never got them connected until just now. So you've got the pillar of light, and as you
Mhm.
have and hold that pillar of light within yourself, and it just becomes you. It's easier to hold that space of peace. And
Mhm.
as you willingly hold that space of peace, because you connect more and more with your worth, then you can begin to learn, not through suffering and not through fear and not through pain, but choose to consciously learn through joy, through
Mhm.
curiosity, through excitement, through wonder, through these higher expressions of existence. Because and I'm hearing, what is this, I'm getting analogy right now of like shrimp, when they take the shrimp boats and they troll the bottoms of the ocean, or they troll the bottoms for the
Or
shrimp,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And so the analogy I'm getting is that you've
Mhm.
trolled the bottoms of your lower existences here. And as you've done that and you've become familiar with that and you don't want to be there anymore, and you are doing and you have done and you continue to do the work, you're not here anymore because you've trolled this misery gets old. You begin to reach for more, you begin to look for more. That's where that openness comes, and that's where you begin to give yourself a break. You begin to rediscover yourself, open up
Mhm.
to what you are, see your worth, give yourself space to exist in your own life. And the actual physical grounding of that is that you allow yourself to meditate. You actually set aside 5 minutes every day to do that. And even if you are not one of those that could stay still, it's hard for me to stay still these days.
Me too, man.
you
Me too. Yeah.
you are conscious
Mhm.
in your emotions. You go wash your dishes like
Mhm.
a Buddhist. You're like conscious of every dish and all the water and all the
Yeah.
soap. You walk outside on the earth barefoot. You sit in the
Yeah.
sun. You hear the birds, and you let that sound not just be the brain saying those
Mhm.
are birds, but you let that energy enter you, and you let it affect you. You
Yeah.
feel it. You feel that energy. And as you give yourself more space in your life, that your life becomes who you are, you begin to shift how you learn, how you choose
Mhm.
to consciously learn. It doesn't mean those other experiences aren't going to come up to you and say, and it's like it's a
Yeah.
nonverbal thing that offers you, hey, do you want to still learn through fear? Do you want to still learn through suffering?
Right.
Do you still want to learn through pain? Or can you see this offering from a higher level? Can you
Mhm.
learn from this? Can you deepen your compassion for yourself? Can you deepen your compassion for this other? And will that ultimately serve you? Yes. Not easy, because it means that your ego has to be put in check. And you have to
Yeah.
realize that just like I was telling you before this, what I always get within me is, no matter what happens at the physical level, It's always love at a soul level. It's a hard one to
Mm-hmm.
swallow. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that you don't need justice at a physical level with
Right.
some things. That's a personal thing. But
Yeah.
there's always, at a higher level of existence, it's always love. This is what I've always received. No matter what happens at the physical, the souls themselves are these beings, these energies of love. And it's lessons and it's things given for you, for your growth. And so that's when we're talking about love and we're talking about compassion, these are all tools to move you up into higher realities of you, as is
Yeah.
compassion, knowing your worth, which is like huge, because for me that's been a well over a 10-year journey for me to
Yeah.
realize and to sit in front and to actually be
Yeah.
here saying, this is who I am, this is what I offer, you know. And my hope is that people can pick apart and take and make it their own and embody any of these things that call them and make help them make sense of their experience and any pain they're walking through or suffering, and to bring meaning. This is
Yeah.
happening because of this. This is happening because
Right.
of this. What can I learn from this, rather than feeling
Mm-hmm.
attacked? Even if a person is attacking you, and I'm not
Yeah.
talking about physically, obviously that's one thing, but
Right.
energetically, verbally
Yeah.
attacking you, why are they doing it? How can I bring meaning
Yeah.
to this experience even now? How can this experience make me more? How can I rise above this? How can I use this experience to serve others? Why is this person doing this? Wow, they must be really hurting, or they
But
must
it's
really hate
typically not
themselves
you. Yeah. It's
to be
typically because they're
such
not
an
you.
ass
Yeah.
to me. My
Right.
God, what
Right.
is it? What is it that would make this person be
Yeah.
such an ass? And it just,
Yeah.
over time, as you begin to ask these questions and you begin to, the words within me are flattened, which is you humble yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
humble yourself to like this divine energy, to the desired, harsh, but true clarity of things. And you continue to kind of open and you walk in discernment, and you continue to learn, and you
Yeah.
take in the experiences of your reality, especially the harsh, painful ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn not to take them personally. It's not that you aren't active in that space, but it's that you understand this thing happening to you is not what you are. It's an experience outside of you. And
Mm-hmm.
you can take that and you can alchemize that for your
Mm-hmm.
highest good. And when you begin to learn that for anything, you begin to take the energy of the nasty, of the negativity, of the dark, of the frustration, of the anger, and you begin to alchemize it, and you begin to mesh it like a big ball of energy and use it to
Yeah.
transform your experience. And that's something for me that I've learned.
Yeah. It
Give
must
me
be a
that.
happy medium too that you come to,
Let me
right?
take
Where,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a happy medium you come to where you're not overthinking it and dwelling on it completely, but it does take some deep reflection, doesn't it? You know what I
Yes, it
mean? It
does.
takes some deep reflection without constantly just spinning your head around, wondering about it perpetually and constantly, but it does take a little bit of thought.
It takes some thought, but
Yeah.
you also can think yourself into because I've done it,
Mm-hmm.
believe me, you can think yourself into complete stillness and stuckness. And
Oh
at some
yeah.
point,
That's
you
what I'm
have
getting
to
at.
move out of the thoughts, not to be
Right.
cut off, but to balance it with and to feel, which is just not easy. That's why
No.
people avoid it, right? Because it
Well,
hurts,
yeah.
it's painful, it's sad, but it's like the more that you can balance that as much as
Yeah.
possible, and that to me is a continual work.
Yeah.
Um, the
But the more
more that
you're able to
you,
do it in every situation you're in, but the more you've worked on it and had to work on it, the more you're able to take
yeah,
that into various situations that you may encounter that are new, that you
it
haven't
becomes
encountered
your
before, right?
norm. Yeah, it becomes your
Yeah, that's
normal.
what I
It
mean.
becomes
Yeah,
your, it's like you have this surfboard and you're just
yeah,
surfing through experiences,
yeah,
but it has to start, it has to begin. And in the beginning, it's not easy because you want to react to these experiences in anger and frustration. And it's not that you
Yeah.
shouldn't react the way you need to, but there's a
Yeah.
point reached where you're kind of like, I'm tired of being angry. I'm
All the time.
tired of
Yeah.
being
And then
mad. I'm
same old,
tired of
yeah.
being frustrated. And you will begin to
Mhm.
reach for more,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's when it opens up. It opens up to that. And that to me is, I'm even hearing the process of love. That's what I'm hearing within me. That's interesting. You're giving yourself more space, allowing yourself to expand, and as you expand your world,
More love
you
flows in.
more love. It all happens within you, and it goes external because it's this beautiful flow back and forth.
There's
Um,
nothing more beautiful than hearing the three words "I love you" when it's sincere, no matter what form, whether it's a relationship with a partner, whether
right,
it's a sibling, whether it's a child, a parent, whatever, whoever, a friend. When you hear that sincerely, boy, it just really sets a person's heart humming. When you really hear that
right.
sincerely and then feel that it's sincere from somebody, or at least you're pretty sure that it is, right? It really sets. It's kind of really a feel good thing to hear. And I hate to sound mushy, but I mean, really, it is when you feel it out of any kind of sincerity, or at least for me anyway. Just that I can speak with me. It's like music to my heart.
It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm good. And I'm gonna point
Yeah.
something out. People might be like, but your third eye, it looks like you have a star.
Me?
Uh-huh. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's called a wrinkle.
Nope. It goes like
Oh
this,
yeah.
and then it
Oh, I
goes.
know. Yeah, I'm in here. If you see me moving and driving, a lot of the show I'm looking at, where if I win the lottery, where I'm going to get my face lifted at, where I'm going to get this brush back at. Yeah, no, no, yeah. People, I know I look older than Moses. Okay, I never looked so good on my best day. But anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, thank you for the star thing. Maybe I need to start squinting. Maybe it'll show up there permanently if I start. It does kind of look like a star, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does.
Good. As long as it don't look like a pentagram, I'm okay. Good.
No, it's a star.
Okay, good, good, good,
No,
good, good. Tetrahedron
right?
1, tetrahedron 2. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm go-
Yeah. Well, you got me thrown off with that, does it? You threw me for a loop there with the star on my forehead. I never expected that one. But yeah, I think that we've covered a lot of ground today.
yeah.
I know, maybe that was just a preemptive shot there by the guides earlier. Usually, people, if you haven't watched before, Carolyn Spirit Guides will let us know when the show is needing to wind down a little bit. And maybe that was their subtle way of doing it.
So
Maybe we don't want to stick around to hear the rest from them come in and blast some thunder. But Carolyn is expecting, well, her area is expecting floods today,
yeah.
but hopefully they won't come her way. They can bring some of that rain up here to Oregon where we're used to it. I'll trade her. I'll trade her for this hot, muggy weather we're having to her. Well, I don't want the muggy. Can you keep the mugginess? You can have the double shot of the muggy. We'll just take the rain. Yeah,
Take
we,
the
we
rain.
don't we don't like muggy up here.
We're muggy and raining. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can take all the rain you can handle because it doesn't, where I'm at on the coast, it doesn't flood. I mean, the ground is dry as soon as the drop hits the water. It's so acclimated to it. You hear people getting in wrecks in places where it rarely rains or not rains a lot, right? Where there's a lot of wrecks going on, right? But up here, man, it don't do that so much on the coast. It has to really be bad before there's even, a few inches retained on the ground for any length of time, even during a rainstorm, right? And so people drive in the rain up here as good as people drive on a desert
Wow.
straightaway. So, but you get snow here where I live. It's another story. The town closes down at 2. There's a policy in the town, 2 inches in both cities I live by. The town has to close down everything but emergency vehicles. If there's two
Wow.
inches now, that's what they have to do, Carolyn. Now they do it at about a half an inch. About a half an inch, it's stuck
And
for a few
half an
minutes.
inch.
About a half an inch, they make that call to go ahead and do it if there's any at all left in the forecast. I mean, at all possible, at all possible. They will go ahead and do it about a half an inch. 2 inches, they have to.
Do you have
Yeah.
any other times that you guys close down? I mean, snow,
Yeah,
You said
the tsunamis I was talking about after. Yeah, the tsunami. Oh,
tsunami,
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. And these are people that have
Yeah,
lived here their whole goddamn life. Any tsunami warning, they're freaked out. They're driven to the top of the hill. It's loaded, and it's like, man, look, it isn't going to happen, and it never has happened. And the one time I'm going to be wrong, probably we won't know it anyway because it'll be such a big, it'd be such a big thing. But
it'll just happen.
people like the idea. People like the idea of getting paranoid. People love the idea of getting nervous. Oh God, it's so exciting. We get to go. Oh, we better get the hell out of here. Even though they've said if there even is one, it won't be here for hours. We better go drive and park up on top of the hill forevermore. Yeah, it just but people feed into that, and of course the broadcasts on TV don't help with the every few minutes. This is a test of that. Well, it doesn't say that during this, but that ominous sound that it gives out. That
Right,
I mean, I don't know if it does
right.
that down there, but here it does. Any little thing, and they test it enough anyway without it. Every night you can hear it.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a test of the emergency broad, and it's to get you on high alert and all nervous, but people are very quick to just want to have something tragic happen so they can get excited, I guess. I don't know. But to me, it's not that exciting, really.
Yeah.
Takes all kinds. Yeah.
Understand.
What is? If I lived down where you did, I'd probably freak out because I'm not used to it, right? So I wouldn't know, right? Because
Right.
somebody could tell me, but I wouldn't know that, okay, it's just typical, it's typical warning. But up here, these are people that have lived here forever. A tsunami warning, they're
You
already
get like,
headed to the hills.
I mean, we live right by the base, the Air Force base. It's closed Air Force base, but they still have jets
Sure.
all day during the
Oh,
week.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Starting
Yeah.
it. They warm up on the runway at 7:30.
They must just use that as an outlet.
Start at 8. I don't know.
There it happened again. Did you see what happened?
It flashed.
Okay, that means it's that time. I
That's our
told you
warning.
I would start believing at this. If it happened one more time, I would start believing that your guys were telling it like it is. And there's
There it
no
is.
other reason. There
And
it is.
that's like
That's
this.
the
That's like
well.
them off stage going,
Yeah,
wrap
yeah,
it
they know
up.
we're talking about weather. Now they know it's gotten downhill when we're starting to talk about the weather, okay? We literally yeah.
Fine. All
All
right.
right, yeah, fine. They don't care. They don't care. They don't have to exist in it, so it's cool. You see how they are. All right, Carolyn&Larry Roberts, deep in the heart of Texas, in San Antonio, Texas, just outside in the lovely suburbs.
Great.
Why don't you let everybody that might be listening or listening at a future date know where, at this point in time, in the wonderful, wonderful world of social media, they can get a hold of you at if they so choose to desire and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Yes.
Take it away.
So I'm on Facebook as Carolyn&Larry Roberts. That's my personal page, which everything I share on there is public. My mission business page is Allowing the Light on Facebook. And my mission is to be a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, which for me is the conversation between the sacred mind, the sacred heart, in the body vehicle, which I receive as the voice of the soul. And my mission is to help, assist, aid souls that are resonate with me, to connect them, reconnect them to their to this conversation. And what I've always received within me is that the analogy I'm given within is that of a camera. An old-fashioned camera where you're looking at a picture and the image that you're seeing is the sacred mind, and the camera itself is the body vehicle, but the light in the background that illuminates the image you're looking at and how you were looking at it itself, the direction. This is the sacred heart in the background. It's always been there. It's always been there. And it's just been it hasn't been moved into significance until recently in the Piscean age. It was not a voice that was welcomed. Now, as we move
No.
into the Aquarian age, it is finally being recognized as its sacred standing that has always been there. And so I offer soul sessions where I work with the soul to connect with this conversation within themselves. And I've said this in other podcasts, when I'm talking to them, and every soul session's different, but what I get sometimes is I help connect them to what many would call the Akash. Within me, it's called the library of the heart, because I am less concerned about what you are in that experience and more concerned of how you feel and those emotions that you're moving through, because those are profound energy stamps that affect that lifetime and affect this one if you are not conscious of them. They are patterns. And
Mm-hmm.
so my point is to help you, assist you to see these patterns, to change these patterns of existence, is what I'm hearing within me. Soul sessions also are offered because they are conversations that are had between your higher self, you, and my higher self and me. And I'm here to assist any souls called to me to what calls their heart, to bring them into that clarity for whatever that is. I can be found on YouTube as Carolyn Lanier Roberts, in parentheses, is allowing the light. And then I have an older channel, which is allowing underscore, is it allowing underscore the light, or it's just allowing the
Yeah,
light?
I think that
Um,
one, that is just allowing the light. It's the one that we get into on Instagram that has the underscores between
that's
the
the one.
allowing and the
And
light.
on Instagram, I am allowing underscore the underscore light.
Yes, ma'am.
And I bring through on a pretty regular basis, daily, weekly, channelings and images. And I have an Etsy store, and I offer blank blessing pit cards, which is the photography I mentioned earlier in this session. And those are full of light codes and light codes and what is the other word? I can't come up with the other word. But those are all offered for your expansion, and they're offered for healing ultimately. Is that
I check them
it?
out if I were you people. Really, I check them out. There's a lot to her cards. There's a lot to her work. I mean, it's
They're
very descriptive and very. I mean, I'm not talking about like she writes the preamble to the Constitution on it. I'm just there's a lot going on there, though.
they're part of my legacy. They're all
Mhm.
intended as their energetic realignment is what actually I'm hearing. And they can actually serve just by going to my Etsy store and looking at the image for the right soul. The codes are
Mhm.
right there. I mean, I'd love it if you want to purchase a card, but
Yeah,
you can just
yeah.
look at the image, and if it calls you, it's going to do its work. I
Very
think
true.
that's
Very
it.
true.
Yeah, I think that's it. Grateful for your time and your attention, because to me, all that exists is this present moment, and you have given me everything. Um, I pray that anything that I've said or Larry has said serves you, a beautiful soul. And yeah, I am grateful. Thank you so much, Larry.
Well, thank you, Caroline. Really, it's always a pleasure, of course, to be with you. And it's always a pleasure to know I've got a star on my forehead. I'll be worried about that in the mirror. My next trip, ladies and gentlemen, is going to
No,
be to the bathroom
not
after.
worried.
Look at this. I do got a star. I've got marks.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
not a Marxist.
See, you can take pen
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now and you
man.
can
Yeah, I've got
feel
my
it.
head all up in the grill now over there. Yeah, yeah, I know, man. I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to need to get some ink or something for this. The cross. What else? Okay. Well, anyway, people don't need to know about that. They can. Yeah, they don't go over it. If you haven't been watching the live broadcast, just listen to it. If you go watch it on YouTube, just listen to it. You don't need to see the star on my forehead. It's something sacred that if you didn't see it live, you don't. It'll be damaging to see it afterward. Yeah, right. Okay, so here I'm going to make it real quick because speaking of rain, I think I've got to go rain myself for a second. So yeah, you can find me in every goddamn social media platform I'm on for the brand. So I'll cut to the chase. You can find where all those are located at one spot. You can go on Facebook and go to Rock and Larry Locken social media outlets. That's ROCKEN, Rockin' with an E. ROCKEN in the USA, basically. LOCKEN, that's why there's the E on the Rockin', Larry Locken social media outlets, or you can type in the Larry Locken Network. That's the secondary name to the page. Yes, you can have a secondary name to your pages on Facebook. I'm not a genius. I just found that out through 10 years of making them up. Okay. I mean, I stumbled upon the brilliance of it. It wasn't anything that my brain came up with to think of. Okay, so you can find me there, and you can find out all the groups that I've created over the years, the 5 YouTube channels. Yes, there are 5 of them, okay? And there's a reason for that. I go into this every time because I don't want you to think I have some ego and I had to build 5 of them. 5 of them were given to me when I signed up to do radio on here through Google Hangout about 13 years ago, all right? And that was just the way they did it back then. It was different. And so I never used any of them but 2 until this last about 13, 14 months ago. I started using the other 3 for various pages that I have already had on Facebook. I married them up together. Okay. So one page I'd like to highlight, of course, would be the Pleiadian and angelic rainbow orbs page. That's married up with a page. It's actually the Larry Locken 4 channel, which are on the Larry Locken 1 channel. Now, you confused already? Okay, go to Larry Locken social media, Rockin' Larry Locken social media outlets. Boy, I took a year. I took twice as long to say that and what Carolyn did describing the whole, syllabus of steps that she's into. So just do that, and you can find me there and stop by and say hi. Because if we could do a whole show, and I've done a whole show on which ones I'm just in on, or which platforms I'm on, saying nothing else, but I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this, I'm on this, and Carolyn knows it's right down the list. Everyone is in the alphabet except SunCloud is the only one I think that I'm not on that anybody would know of. Okay, and maybe someday, who knows? But and with that being said, I'm going to do my tacky every show thing and wish everybody a big cosmic dating game kiss. Anybody under 50 will be like, what the hell is he talking about? But it's basically just some love from me to you, from all of us here at the Conscious Conversations with Carolyn and Larry show, which is only the 2 of us, but still, it's a lot. We're the whole world to ourselves. So much love, everybody. And I'm going to give you a big dating game kiss again. Mwah! And with that, we're out, and goodbye to Instagram. Okay, goodbye, Instagram. Yay, goodbye, good night, Instagram. Goodbye to X. Oh, X, X, X. Oh, you're such a good X. Yeah, okay. So now everybody can watch me as I try to click out of all these. Okay, there you go. X is gone. There, TikTok, I love you too, but it's time we say goodbye for the summer. Not really, just until next week or some other time. Okay, every kiss is a letter sealed with my fist. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right, there we go. There we're out. Now we're only on YouTube. All right, everybody, and we're all okay. Carolyn, I'll be right with you. I'm going to check how many people we had on here. Oh, we don't do that, by the way. I was just going to do it this one time, people. All right. All right, and we're out.
Okay, out.